What's up, my friends? How's it going? And welcome back to the 7th episode of our Let's Play series as the Sweboz with your fellow comrades. Summary, let us quickly turn off the notifications and I will explain to you what happened in the previous episode. In the previous episode, we managed to conquer the entirety of Italia from the Romans. We conquered the last two remaining regions in Magna Graecia, conquering the entirety of Sicilia as well. Corsica and Sardinia, we managed to push westwards into Narbonensis, wiping out the Massilians in the process, conquering the entirety of the province. And then we further pushed our armies into Iberia, of course, managing to conquer the settlement of Tarraco in Tarraconensis. And in this episode, we will be looking forward to eliminating any Roman presence in Iberia itself, conquering the rich province of Hispania, trying to create our second economic province. We will also try to gain control of Carthago, the strategic settlement of Carthago from the Romans. As you can see in Africa, the Romans are on the back foot. The Ptolemaic faction have consolidated their gains in Africa. Meanwhile, even the Macedonians and their client state of Athens have managed to gain a foothold in Numantia and Africa, respectively. So things are not looking too good for the Romans. As for the most part, I think this campaign is more or less coming to an end because, of course, after we deal with the Romans, we are going to be we already are, but we are even going to solidify our position as the undoubtedly strongest faction in this campaign. Of course, some factions have done really well for themselves, like the Ptolemaic factions as well as the Macedonians, but a lot of it has to do with our interference with Roman politics. Without our involvement, of course, the Romans would have managed to conquer all of these regions, including the Ptolemaic factions. The very reason that these AI factions could basically thrive is because the Romans had to divert their attention towards our own invasion. Meanwhile, even the Scordici, since we have ignored them most likely in our south, they have managed to consolidate a pretty massive kingdom, actually conquering the nomadic tribes of the Scythians, which is really, really interesting because I rarely ever see the nomadic factions get absolutely owned. In the Middle East, of course, you have Armenia that's grown to quite a sizable size. The Galatians, of course, have taken advantage of the collapsing Seleucid Empire, as well as the Nabateans, of course. They are controlling the settlement of Seleucia. A little bit of border go over here, but more or less the world seems to have stabilized, with just about us being the dominant faction, of course. All the way up in northwestern Europe, in Gallica, as well as Britannia, you have a very ruthless struggle for dominance between the Iceni and, of course, all the Celtic tribes, trying to push back and forth and weakening each other out in the process, which means after I deal with the Romans, I can, in future episodes, turn my attention up to the north, but these guys are going to be extremely weak. As you can see, the Iceni are in control of Iuliobona. They have recently conquered the settlement. If we take a look over here, you can see that we have two Pictones armies that are in war against the Iceni, as well as, of course, their Belgic allies. They're going to capture Iuliobona despite the fact that their armies are significantly weakened. And what this means is Iuliobona, being under control of course, a Brittonic faction, is not going to have a lot of population, so they're not going to be able to replenish. So as you can see, they're just going to keep grinding each other down. And of course, as the old adage goes, when two people fight, the third person gains, and that third person will be me eventually when I decide to interfere in the situation up here in the north, taking out, of course, the Iceni, the Gallic factions, and consolidating northwestern Europe under Sweboz rule. Of course, we even have an ally in the Iberia, which will kind of distract the Iceni. We do have a defensive agreement with them, which is why we can see all of their territory in Britannia. And as you can see, they don't have a lot of armies. They have a couple of armies over here in the port of Camalodunum, which means it's going to be very easy to invade the island. It's not going to be really tough. Apart from that, quick look at our armies to see if we can recruit any of the troops that we need to. We can go ahead and actually recruit a cavalry unit over here, so let's go ahead and get that final unit of cavalry, which is great. Apart from that, our faction heir, Hardowich, in charge of Harjas 3 Katigos, is going to move back towards, let's just actually move Turunas of Numantijos back to Massilia. Go ahead, move this guy over here so that he can replenish in the end turn. I have gone ahead and disbanded some of our Germanic hunters, of course, in favor of getting some Iberian slingers. as they are definitely a lot better as units. We can go ahead and move Harja's 7 Lugijos down south towards Saguntum. We are going to try to conquer as much of the Romans as we possibly can. Let's just go ahead. We can easily auto-resolve this battle, so we are going to do it. It's not very favorable auto-resolve, to be honest, but I typically like to have plus 90% in as far as auto-resolve is concerned. I'm going to go ahead, get the military logistician and military conscriptor, but since we can actually just deploy ourselves in the port, and we might as well just do that. Let's go ahead and replace our Germanic youth with, of course, the Balearic slingers, which are much better unit. Apart from that, we can even disband a couple of these Germanic youths over here, get some more Balearic slingers. We're just going to keep slowly but surely promoting our armies. We have some dignitaries in the region. This guy is going to be the future economic dignitary for the province of Hispania, so we are going to go ahead. Just can we actually move him across the river? There we go. We're actually going to move him over here. Meanwhile, we're going to move this other dignitary towards Numantia using our Timbe trade region submod. We are going to try to attempt to acquire the province diplomatically, of course, since we do have a military alliance with the Lusitani. So we do not want to fight them for Numantia. And even if we can, we're going to try to take over Iplacaea. We're going to take over Carthuba and, of course, Gadir from the Romans. If they manage to hold on to the settlement, of course, they are on the back foot, significantly on the back foot. And speaking of being on the back foot, we can slowly move our army into the African Sea over here, not too close. We might get out of supply range. So I think we can go all the way up to this trade line, and there we have it. And in the next turn, we can go ahead and besiege the settlement of Carthage. That being said, let's take a look at some of our characters over here. We have leveled up as far as our future governor generals are concerned. Of course, this guy in particular is, the Teutonas of Ibosim. He's going to be the future admiral governor of the region of Ibosim over here in Hispania. Hispania tends to be one of the most powerful provinces in 1.3.4 because it has a lot of industrial resources, and industry is really gotten a significant buff in this patch. That being said, let's take a quick look at our politics. As far as politics is concerned, it's looking really good. Of course, we have the same political rivals that we start out with: the Council of Chieftains, the Marsi Chieftains, and the Tengteri Chieftains, all of whom are extremely loyal. I could, in fact, even assassinate the leader who has a thirst for power. He's giving us a -10 loyalty. And by assassinating him, I can actually get Gelenos at the helm of the Tengteri Chieftains, boosting up this loyalty to 42. But there's really no need to do that because Randolph himself is a capable governor general, so I do not want to get rid of him. And there's no real benefit of going from 32 loyalty to 42 loyalty. As far as loyalty is concerned, you just want to avoid being below -10 loyalty, because every point of negative loyalty below -10 gives you an increased chance for a civil war, so you definitely want to avoid that. But there's no real benefit between, let's say, 32 loyalty and 45 loyalty, for example. And I think I actually had a very brilliant idea in that regard. I think I'm going to actually talk to Sergeant Memes Farage, since my modding capabilities are mainly artistic in nature. It's not much to do with scripting and the nature of scripting and the way of, or the mechanics of the game. The idea I had was basically make this positive loyalty have some meaningful impact. And what kind of meaningful impact could it have? It could further, give modifiers to the party traits of the party in question. So for example, if we take a look at the Council of Chieftains, they have Mercantile. Obviously, it's going to give +1 loyalty for each trade agreement established, but it is a trade-focused trait. So improving your loyalty with this party should give you some boost to your trade. Because these guys, think about them as estates. For those of you who have played Europa Universalis 4, they're kind of like estates, different factions that own influence in, of course, your realm. Whereas your own party is more or less like the crownlands in terms of Europa Universalis terms. So, give extra loyalty, let it impact their traits. So let's say you have +10 loyalty, then you get maybe +10 tariffs from trade agreements in addition So that actually adds an extra feature to, maximizing or min-maxing your political loyalty. So at plus 10 loyalty, you might get a plus 10 trade tariffs. If you have, like, let's say plus 40, you might get plus 20 trade tariffs. So it makes these party traits even more powerful. With the traditionalist, of course, it is plus 1 loyalty for each province where the player's culture is dominant. So extra loyalty will add additional modifiers like cultural conversion, faction-wide cultural conversion, benefits, and likes. Greeks, for example, gives plus 2 loyalty for each diplomatic agreement you have established with the Hellenic world. Extra loyalty could add an additional trait to that, which gives us a plus diplomatic bonus with Hellenic factions, making it easier for us to do so. And conversely speaking, if we have negative loyalty with these parties, they can have negative modifiers as well. So for example, we have a minus 10 loyalty, then we're going to have a minus 10 diplomatic penalty with all Greeks. Similarly, we're going to have minus 2 to our cultural conversion when we consider traditionalist, or minus 10% of trade tariffs. Now, I don't know if this is possible, but I'm definitely going to bring up the idea to Sergeant Meemsura, see if he can make an interesting submod out of it, so that we add a little bit more depth to the political feature or the political mechanics in Rome 2 Total War. Of course, that being said, we're going to take a look at all of our faction characters over here. We're looking quite good. Our influence is quite good. Of course, we're still having Baldwin at the helm of the chatty chieftains, and of course he has nominated Hardowich as his successor. This guy does have the cheerful trait, which means he will be a really good faction leader in the future. But in order for him to become or to secure his promotion as the faction leader or a smooth transition of a succession, we have to ensure that he also has the highest amount of gravitas in comparison to any of the other family members. So what we're actually going to do is keep sending gifts, because this actually gives plus 2 gravitas for the initiator, which is Hardowich in this case. As you can see, 564 gravitas should become 548 from 546. So let's just improve with the least loyal political party. That will improve their loyalty, but more importantly, it also gave Hardowich plus 2 gravitas in this turn. And it might seem like a little bit less when you consider plus 2 in the grand scheme of 548, but it actually is a lot, because if you take a look at some of the traits like the aged retainer, of course, and of course the noble steed, you can see that the gravitas gain levels is comparable. So actually doing this every turn is the equivalent of having this retainer over here. Meanwhile, of course, we also want to focus on promoting the character, because higher the political office that they hold, the more gravitas per turn that they actually generate. So definitely worth doing that. So let's just take a look at all of our characters, see if we can actually promote any of them to the to a higher rank. And there we have it. We can promote Helmond over here. And in the case of the Germanic faction, since they are very warlike kind of people, these promotions also offer certain military bonuses, like not just purely economic bonuses. So it's really worth it when it comes to the Germanic factions, of course. That being said, we are done with most of our politics. All that remains is to, of course, engage in improving the stats of some of our female characters. So, of course, I like to make it a 10-10-10 in terms of authority, cunning, and zeal. We currently have 11, 4, and 6 with Tutberga. So we're going to praise her so that we improve her zeal from 6 to 7. There you have it. Her zeal is from 6 to 7. And we already sent one of these characters, I think, on a leisure time. No, we haven't. She's 11, 8, and 10. So let's just send her on a leisure time. And when she returns in the next turn, she should bump up her cunning from 8 to 9. Now, one of the reasons, a lot of you ask me, why do I engage in a lot of politics when it comes to, Rome 2 and Divided Impera, and why in specific only female characters? The reason is twofold. Firstly, you have several rows over here of actions that you can do. These rows over here mainly improve the abilities of your characters, like praise, which improves your zeal, doing a favor, which improves your authority, and of course you even have a leisure time, which improves your cunning, all of which you just witnessed. But more importantly, you have these political actions in the blue row over here, in which you can entice rival parties to join your party in case you need to improve your influence, of course. You can assassinate characters also. You can do a lot of actions, but a lot of these actions are actually tied into your stats. As you can see over here, in order to gather support, I need at least 7 zeal and 7 authority. In order to assassinate a character, I need at least 2 more cunning than the target character. So for example, over here, if we select Levies, I can assassinate pretty much anyone because she has 10 cunning. However, if I look at TWCenter, she only has 4 cunning, so she is not even able to assassinate anyone because pretty much all of these characters have, quite a high level of cunning. The minimum level of cunning you start out with is 3. So having a character with 4 cunning, where she requires 2 additional cunning, is not going to be enough to even assassinate the basic characters that you want to assassinate. And as mentioned earlier, I could assassinate Randolph, the leader of the Tencteri, thereby securing more loyalty for the party. But of course, it's not really worth it because there's no real benefit. And of course, Randolph himself is a capable governor general, so I do not want to do that. And the second reason I focus on female characters is that a lot of these actions that I just explained to you right now cannot be done if the character is in military command. So for example, if you take a look at Childebrand over here, he is a military general. He cannot perform most of these actions because, as you can see, it has been disabled due to the fact that the character is currently in command of an army. So since that's not going to be a restriction for most of your campaigns with female characters, it's always advisable to maximize the stats of your female characters. And what's more, you can even improve their ranks so that they apply several faction-wide modifiers, like of course your empire maintenance and so forth. However, with that, we are going to go ahead and progress, end the turn over here quickly. I think we're done with this turn. But before we do that, we are going to take a very quick look at our buildings over here. So we're going to go ahead, repair this building, dismantle these buildings that we do not need. And quick look at some of our other buildings. We can go ahead, dismantle that building. Actually, there's no real urgency to dismantle it, so we can just repair it because that's gonna reduce the time it takes for it to build up. We're gonna build a sewage ditch over there, and we're making quite a lot in as far as economy is concerned. As you can see, 1.3 million denarii in the bank, 45,000 denarii per turn. Of course, Lugia is making 47,000 denarii per turn, which is very, very respectable. As far as food is concerned, we are making a massive amount of food, guys. 86 food, and our 2 major food provinces are Sicilia, as you can see over here, and Latium is also another food generation province. So that being said, I'm actually not too concerned. We can go ahead and in fact upgrade the main settlement chains over there. Previously, Hercynia was a food province, but we are converting it into a research and resource province. And we can in fact even do the same for Magna Germania because we're still in a surplus of 69 food. So let's just go ahead and do that. Convert Magna Germania. We can upgrade some of the main settlement buildings. Of course, the main important thing about your food surplus is you want a minimum of 25 food in surplus because that gives you the maximum growth per turn modifier that you can get from food surplus, which is +5 growth per turn. Any amount of food that's greater than that is not really helpful except as a buffer in the case of banditry. So for example, let's say one of my food provinces experience a supply banditry event in which you do not generate any food in the turn. There you have it. We still have 23 food in excess. But of course, that number is going to keep going up as some of these buildings are going to be upgraded, of course. So you want at least a minimum of 2 extremely strong food provinces in your empire to basically counteract the food deficits of your economic provinces, of course. That being said, let's just go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn when we are ready to attack Mastia, Abosum, and so forth. Alright, welcome to the next turn. A daughter has come of age, Lubovera, very cool Germanic name, of course. I like ancient Germanic names. Some characters have increased in rank, so let us quickly try to improve their rank. We have the future governor of Numantia himself, so let's focus on the empire maintenance and of course the taxation rate. We can also quickly check to see if we can rank him up, which is very important for extra modifiers to of course your tax rate. Meanwhile, the leader of Harjas for Marzijos has also leveled up, so we're going to focus on the military logistician, and we are going to focus on some of the other abilities. Let's just go ahead and get them. Perfect. Very quick look to see some of our characters over here. If we can actually get some Iberian slingers, we cannot. What about over here in the province of Tarraconensis? No Iberian slingers have been regenerated in our mercenary pool, so we're just going to wait it out. Meanwhile, since we have pretty much a character over here, we're going to move him down south in preparations to attack Mastia, of course. This character is replenishing, so we're going to wait for that. Instead, we're going to move this character into the sea so that we can take out Ibosim. That's pretty much what we want to do. All the way up north here, we have Harjas 5 Kimbrijos. We're still waiting on some of those Remy Maripos mercenary cavalry that we can recruit. Apart from that, we do have some piracy situations up here in the north, and we really can't deal with them. It's too expensive to deal with these guys. Although I have a lot of funds, to be honest, it's a very difficult auto-resolve, and I have to manually fight the battle. And I'm not... I don't like fighting naval battles, especially with barbarian fleets, so I'm not going to do that. I'm basically going to wait until I can recruit another fleet, because that is going to make it very much doable. Speaking of our new character, let's take a quick look over here. It's a cool name, but I want to assassinate her. We have way too many characters, and we have to do a lot of political intrigues to improve their stats. So I can't be bothered in, you know, doing it for several more characters. Let's just go ahead, improve her zeal, her cunning by sending her on a leisure time. Meanwhile, our faction heir can go ahead, keep praising political rivals to improve the loyalty and of course improve his gravitas as well. Apart from that, all of our characters have been upgraded. We're going to take a quick look at our buildings, focusing on growth rate as well as research rate. Let's just go ahead, upgrade that building, and we can just simply convert this building and build a couple of those buildings as well. Perfect. We can upgrade that one. Excellent. And now you might be wondering why a lot of these ports I'm not really upgrading, and the reason being is I actually do not want to get a fishing port in a province that I'm not taxing, because I'm not making any food out of the province. Instead, what I want to build is a harbor or a raiders port. But I can't really do that because I haven't really researched the technology. Currently, I'm prioritizing the enclosed settlement, which will give me a significant boost to my income. I don't think that's really a major priority. So once I actually finish researching the double wall construction, I might just hop into the war exercise tree and go ahead and get the oak construction, which will at least allow me to upgrade these ports to level 3. Which is really important. Now, the reason I do it is twofold. One is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I cannot benefit from the food generation, and in fact, all I kind of get is the negative public order and squalor that's applied to the province. In the case of the boatyard, while I do make some income from wealth from manufacturing industry and of course reduce banditry, once again these two are not applicable because of course we're not taxing the province. But more importantly, it does reduce piracy, which still applies, and it doesn't give any negative modifiers like squalor and public order. So it's definitely a much better option in provinces that you are not taxing, and also of course in industrial provinces like Hispania will be in the future. Of course, over here we have to focus on attacking Carthago, so we're going to go ahead besiege the settlement. It's going to be a pretty tough siege fight, so I'm actually going to build a couple more ladders, and in the next turn we're going to go ahead and attack the settlement. Actually wondering if I can build anything else. Nope, just a additional ladder that should allow me to you know, besiege the settlement in the next turn. Speaking of besieging, as you can see over here, Macedonians busy attacking Capsa, so the Romans are slowly but surely being pushed into the back foot. I also kind of forgot to mention that the Maori are actually a client state of mine. They actually did so diplomatically, so I don't really care. They are trying to keep they're trying to keep attacking Eol, but they're not successful. Eol is a good province. I want to take it for myself. mainly because of the timber resource that's over there. And the timber resource is a very powerful resource because if you take a look at the timber trade camp, it actually gives plus 24 wealth from all industry in all your regions. That means throughout your entire empire, guys. All regions. If it says something like that, then that basically means throughout your entire empire. Otherwise, it would say in this province or regions in this province. But since it says all regions, it applies to all regions. And so that's really important. So if you actually stack 4 or 5 of these buildings, you're making double the industrial wealth from that building. So for example, take a look at the silver mine complex, which gives 1600 wealth from mining industry. What that means is that 1600 wealth is going to become 3200 wealth, and I need not explain just how powerful that is. Apart from that, these timber buildings also has a special building which I haven't really built up over here, but one of their buildings offers even more wealth from industry in all regions in your empire. So definitely a very important thing to have. That being said, we can go ahead and end the turn. There's nothing much else left to do in this turn. And I will see you all in the next turn when we are ready to attack Mastia and Ibosim and of course Carthage. Alright, here we are in the next turn. And I'm going to turn off all of our notifications. Several other daughters have come of age. A lot of them coming of age, which means we're going to have to engage in a lot more political actions. I'm not looking forward to that. But let's take a look at some of the daughters. We have Ermendrud over here, which we could actually just assassinate. Not interested in her. And of course we have another character which we are also going to assassinate because we are not interested in her. Apart from that, we can focus on sending some of our characters on leisure to improve our cunning. That character is maximized. This character is maximized. Here we go. Send her on leisure, improve her cunning, get her up to 10, 10, 10. Lastly, we also want to keep sending gifts to our least loyal political party, improving their loyalty, improving the gravitas of our faction heir. So that's really important. A quick look to see if any of our characters have leveled up. None of them have. So we are just going to go ahead and start attacking the settlements that we want to attack. Beginning with Ibosim, of course. We're just going to continue the siege over here. Take a look and see if we can actually recruit some Balearic slingers. Unfortunately, we can't. None of them have regenerated in the mercenary pool. But we are going to go ahead, attack Mastia over here with our Emperor Baldwin. And the auto results don't look that good. So what we are going to do is we're going to try to reinforce with as many units as we possibly can to help further our auto resolve. Go ahead, move this guy a little bit closer over there so that he can participate. And there we have it. We have a 92% reinforcement rate. We're going to go ahead, sack the settlement and loot the settlement so that we get a lot of money from doing so. And then we are just going to deploy our army in the port so that he can level up. He has leveled up as well. So we are going to give him some abilities and even promote him if we can. And since we have our army over here, we can move it back into the port of Saguntum so that it can replenish. Meanwhile, we are going to go ahead, attack Mastia. Once again, a very good auto resolve, 90%. I like that. We are going to go ahead, sack the settlement and then try to loot it as well. There we go, extra money. And we have hit Imperium level 6, guys. So that is great. We're going to deploy into the port of Mastia. Meanwhile, this character over here, our faction heir, will have to retreat once again in order to replenish. We're going to keep moving our spies a little bit deeper into Roman lands in Iberia. They don't have that many, so we're looking quite good as far as wiping out the Roman faction is concerned. We can move our spies into some other regions, of course. The objective is we do not have any agreements with the Tuduli, so we are going to try to attack them so that we can even acquire the province of Iplacaea peacefully from the Lusitani. Speaking of acquisition, as you can see, we have a 16% chance of acquiring Numantia, which is great. And since we have conquered a lot of Hispania, it is time to get rid of some of our admiral generals that are over here and start transferring them over because they will help with that cultural conversion in that region. Of course, this does mean that Latium will get in some public order issues because there's no one governing the province as of now. But it's more important to focus on our economic province. Speaking of economic province, this guy can pretty much just chill over there and try to keep leveling up. And when the time is right, when we control Numantia, we can go ahead, disband him, and set him up as a Governor General of Numantia. We also need to focus on what we are going to build in these provinces. So we are just going to go ahead, repair all of the buildings, dismantle the buildings we do not require, and repair this one because we're going to convert that into a slave trader. That being said, our dignitary over here can go ahead and start to deploy. And I believe we are still taxing the province, so that's great. And we can even send one of our characters to improve the public order in that province, just to help it, reach that 100 public order as quickly as we can, because it's very important since we are playing with the Vox Populi submod, which gives increased benefits from having positive public order. Lastly but not least, we have to attack Carthago. There's not going to be a lot of fighting in this episode, so I am going to go ahead and fight this battle. It's not going to be an easy fight. The garrison is pretty, substantial and pretty elite, so it will make a very interesting fight, of course. That being said, I am playing with an additional submod. It's actually a submod made by Sergeant Meme Suraj. I would recommend you guys try it out. Basically what this does is it allows you to annex territories of your vassals with a cost and of course some public order issues if you do so. However, I do not want to integrate the Maori just yet. I actually want them to keep trying to conquer the settlement of Eol, and if they're successful, I'm going to take over the settlement from them for myself. That being said, let's take a quick look at some of our other provinces. As far as building is concerned, we can go ahead get a couple of buildings over here. We're going to focus, of course, on the Grove of Frigio for that Germanic cultural influence as well as the public order. And of course, we're going to focus on the Grove of Vordanas for the research rate. We can even upgrade some of the other buildings as well over there. Over here, we're going to build the Shaman's Hut or the Outpost so that we can maximize our growth rate in Magna Germania. Apart from that, all of our buildings seem to be fine, so I'm pretty happy with that. We are ready to go ahead and end the turn, but before we do that, we are going to besiege Carthago. We're going to quick save over here, hop into the battle, turn on the night mode or the night attack mode so that we apply some morale penalties to the defenders, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright, welcome to the siege of Carthago. As you can see, it's already underway. That is because, of course, we have a lot of guerrilla deployment. We were able to get our troops into an advanced position, and as far as the siege is concerned, we have arranged our army in 4 attacking units. We have 4 ladders, since we actually waited a turn to recruit an additional ladder, and each ladder has assigned to it 2 units. In some groups we have both of them consisting of Cherusci assault infantry, and in some groups we have 1 Cherusci assault infantry supported by, of course, a champions of Tivas in the back. And slowly but surely the ladders have approached the walls, and you can see they're starting to scale the ladders, of course. And as such, they are going to be able to quickly neutralize any enemy towers, neutralize the enemy gates. In the middle, we have a bunch of our Hari warriors, such as our Hari Night Strikers, as well as our Hari Night Stalkers. They are set to burn down the gates of the settlement of Carthago. Carthago itself not being a massive settlement, it is quite minor in size as compared to what it would have been. You do not have the famous port of Cawthorn anymore. It seems like the Romans actually completely annihilated the settlement. But there you have it. That is pretty much the battle. Of course, our cavalry in the back with our general is just chilling, because there's nothing much cavalry can do in a siege engagement until, of course, they can enter the settlement. So you have our Germanic troops slowly but surely pouring into the battle, trying to attack the defenders on the ramparts. And it's only going to be a matter of time before we can pretty much defeat the garrison over here. As you can see, we are still in the process of burning the gates, and it appears like the gates are being completely burnt, but it's not really the case. It's just hurling in more fire to attack the gates. However, on the far right hand side of things, it seems like there's no real opposition to our landing over here, so we're quickly able to neutralize the enemy towers on either sides of the battlefield, of course. And there you have it. You can see more and more of our troops starting to pour in since our initial invasion units have managed to scale the walls. Of course, we are following that up with our other Cherusci assault infantry on one side, and even on the other side we have our champions of Tewaz scaling the ladders, of course, as you can tell, and slowly but surely we are going to secure the entire ramparts in our favor. There's pretty much not any more troops, and it seems like the other troops are a bit too afraid to scale the ladders for themselves. So we are pretty much just going to wait for the gates to burn down before we can start entering the settlement. Of course, some of these Roman garrisons are fleeing and they're being absolutely annihilated over here. Realizing that we now control the ramparts, I soon allow my own veteran skirmishers to scale the walls so that they have a better angle at hurling some of their missiles at the units down below. Meanwhile, all we are doing right now is just waiting for the gates to completely be burnt down. They are at 82% fire damage, and it'll be just a matter of time before they are completely destroyed. However, one important thing to do is to ensure that I do not allow the enemy to retake control of the tower. We do not have control of the tower, but we have neutralized it. What this means is that it significantly reduces the amount of damage that we take. Now, the real danger in siege battles is, of course, the defenders have a very clear line of sight to keep firing into your units, of course, on the ramparts, as there is no real protection on this side. However, if you look at the other side of the walls, they do have these, I don't know what's the exact technical term for these things, but they actually prevent or protect your units from enemy missile fires. However, on the side of the defenders, there's no such thing, which means it's going to be a lot easier for defenders to attack into the units on the ramparts with their missile units, of course. As you can see, the gates are now completely damaged, fully burnt, but I do take some time to realize that and get that into it. Right now I'm focusing on getting our Swaby veteran skirmishers up onto the ramparts so that they can fire their missiles into the units below, and this is a very powerful position from which to fire your missiles. That is because, of course, you are attacking from a high ground and you can hit a lot harder from this angle. Over here on the left hand side we have a minor battle going on between our units against some of the Roman garrisons. Of course, they keep continuing to fight, trying to push them off this side of the battlefield. There's not much resistance happening over here, so I'm not too concerned. The battle is going on very well, in my opinion. We managed to gain a very strong advantage over the defenders since we have complete control of the enemy ramparts. Now, noticing that it's actually quite open over here, I eventually managed to charge in my Hari units. Keep in mind, all of them have that scare ability, so it's very, very good. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, out of our 4 groups, a couple of them have the champions of Tewaz assisting them. They are not really at the forefront of things. I've decided to put them up in the back, of course. The reason being is that they are very lightly armored, so they could take a lot of damage. The main reason they're here is to apply that morale debuff against the defenders, of course, so that they quickly rout. However, still waiting on that final charge, of course. These guys are not yet entering the settlement. For the most part, we are trying our level best on either flanks to keep pushing down any possible reinforcements. There you have a Centurion getting hacked down to size. This unit is taking quite a bit of losses. They're already wavering, and that is because, of course, of our scare ability. Unfortunately, we are taking quite a lot of missile fire, and there's nothing we can do about that, except if we try to be a bit more aggressive, try to rush down the ramparts to engage the enemy units. That is probably the right thing to do, because that does give us a good advantage. Being lower than the ramparts actually prevents us from taking a lot of missile damage, because then the enemy archers will not have a clear line of sight on us, especially if we're down over there. They'll have to actually fire into their own troops. So we will not be entirely exposed like this. But the reason I don't do that is because I'm actually waiting for this. I need to cross into the settlement before I go ahead and dedicate my troops to attack. And there you have it. You can see that our troops have managed to enter. A lot of Ahari night attackers, night stalkers, night walkers, a lot of them painted in black. As a very intimidating force. We're just trying to go around, scare everyone, like get them off the battlefield. And there you have it. They are in complete rout. I'm realizing that very soon I will need to support our troops that have breached into the settlement. I do assign my cavalry to kind of assist as well. They're chilling in the back for now, but eventually we want to assist them in completely taking care of these units. And as you can see, the scare of the Germanic army is extremely powerful. You have a unit here that's barely lost 25% of its strength, a cavalry that's barely lost 25% of its strength, and not only have they routed from the field of the battle, they have been completely shattered, so there's no coming back for these units. That's just how powerful German scare tactics are. And there you have it, some of them are cheering. Meanwhile, the only pocket of resistance is on our left and right hand sides where the enemy towers are. I decide that the left hand side is of course a less number of units, so I assign my Hari units to start and pin them down on either sides, preventing them from holding on to that left hand side. But I think that was a little bit of a mistake because I did not notice a secondary cavalry unit. And in fact even a third cavalry unit that I'm actually noticing now in the replay, and these guys get a pretty sweet rear charge off on my units and managed to inflict quite some significant casualties on one of my Hari units. However, we're still yet to get our cavalry into the fight, and there you can see it, some formation changing happening over there, but a misclick means that they are actually just walking towards the settlement, and there we have it. I quickly rectify that so that they rush into the settlement as quickly as possible and assist in our defense, of course. Now, one of the mistakes that I mentioned earlier is that I did not notice those cavalry, so I actually ended up selecting a Hari Knight Stalker to counter that threat, but I would have been much better if I used a Knight Striker, which is a spear unit. Unfortunately, this unit manages to take quite a bit of casualties. They still have the fear ability, so they are going to do quite well, especially once our own cavalry catches up to them. But over here on the far left hand side of the battlefield, as you can tell, we are slowly getting a upper hand. We're managing to rout out all of these units, attack some of these Roman garrisons, cut them down to a man, and then basically free up our entire garrisons to react to what's going on of course that right hand side of the battlefield. Guys, let me know. This is something that I'm new to because I've actually changed the camera settings in this. I've gone to the very typical old school or classic camera settings for replays, so that I have a lot more control and can basically look at the battle at very close by, and a lot of these troops just huddled up, and the right thing to do is to actually go down the ramparts and engage in some of those troops. But there we have it. We can see that our cavalry has finally entered the settlement. Unfortunately, some of our units have already taken quite a bit of casualties. In fact, this unit continues to take a lot more casualties. They almost get wiped out, which would have been really, really annoying because, of course, these are Hari units, which means I can only recruit them from amber provinces, and amber provinces mean that I have to go all the way back to Lugia and Swabia to get them, and I'm all the way halfway across the map. In fact, as far as Rome 2 is concerned, Carthago is at the southernmost extent of the map, as opposed to Swabia, so that would have been really annoying. Thankfully, they just managed to survive at about 40 men in the unit, therefore not getting wiped out from the field of battle. And there you have it. You have some of the Roman units moving in towards my units, and unfortunately I do decide to use this extremely tired Hari unit to keep striking at the enemy. One of the things that I could have done here is enabled the I believe it's called the battle rhythm ability, so as to give them a bit of a better fighting prowess against this unit. On paper they are better than this unit, but they are extremely active as opposed to being fresh, and of course they are slightly weak in terms of their manpower, so it's not going to be easy for them to win such an engagement. It's very important for my units on the ramparts to start coming down, and there you have it. You can see that I've started to issue some of those orders, and straight off the bat you can see that it's going to be incredibly hard for archers to hit my units. They're going to keep firing. They're going to have a little bit of a terrain advantage in terms of height, of course, but the most important thing is that they are now firing into the front, and what's more is that they are actually firing into the backs of their own troops, so they might actually end up inflicting some friendly casualties. However, with that you can see that slowly but surely we're managing to win our way into the settlement, and what we are trying to do is move some of our other troops from the other side of the battlefield around. That was my idea, to hit them from behind, try to basically break this formation over here, because as long as I break that, then I will end up winning the battle, because there'll not be that many troops remaining. And what will that mean is that the remaining troops that are still fighting on the field of battle will have decided that they've had enough, and they will surrender the settlement over to us. Meanwhile, we have gone ahead and deployed our archers, and the animation is pretty funny, but it's just like, it looks like a Stuka dropping a bomb, like a dive bomber. It's pretty funny actually. The trajectory, some of these other trajectories look more realistic though. However, this one over here is just like, yeah, I'm just gonna drop my arrow into you. But as you can see, that actually saved the day with my RE Night Strikers. But I'm still using these units to push into the enemy. Thankfully they are being supported by champions of Tivas. We have quite a lot of casualties in this battle. It is considered to be a decisive victory still, and of course you can see some of that scare ability applying onto the units over here as we charge into their flanks, clashing our shields against them and hacking at them with all of our armor penetration. Of course, some of us taking a bit of damage in the process as well. But the important thing that I was trying to mention is that, of course, when you're fighting a battle against a settlement that is a port settlement, you can deploy your army into the port for that turn and therefore replenish. And I think this kind of makes sense, because it kind of it is definitely a bug. I don't think it's intended to be the case, but I think it kind of makes sense, and I don't consider it to be that much of an exploitation. The reason being is because I consider it to have some sort of meaningful sense that you are supplied, especially overseas, through your ports. So of course deploying into the port allows you to replenish. However, later on, as the settlement gains more and more of your population class, it is more beneficial to garrison the settlement in order to replenish faster, as you do not get the advantage of increased replenishment rate from being in the port. But the advantage is that earlier on you can still slowly manage to trickle up get back your numbers, which is very important. However, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the battle. Do let me know if you guys really enjoyed the new camera format. It is the traditional format that allows me to go really up and close to the units, and of course now with my new systems upgrade, this battle wasn't really that big. However, I am going to test this out in the Alexander campaign, where battles are going to be massive, guys. So I hope that won't actually end up crashing the game as it did in the previous episode, and I had to re-record those battles. However, do let me know if you guys like this new format and this new up and close and personal kind of a camera angle to my battles. And with that, we have managed to conquer Carthago, the settlement or the capital, former capital of the Carthaginians, of course. And we are going to go ahead and sack, I believe. I think they should not have a garrison, so we can even loot the settlement. Fantastic. And we're going to deploy in the port so that we can replenish in this turn. Apart from that, we're going to turn off the taxation over here, quickly repair all of the buildings and dismantle all of the other buildings that we do not need. And since we are at the higher level of Imperium, we can even get a a governor over here. The replenishment rate is quite good. The dignitary, I'm sorry. And we have gone ahead and disbanded, I believe. No, we are going to disband it in the next turn. Right, we can actually get, that's what I was thinking, we can actually get an additional fleet over here, and of course let's actually raise a fleet. We want to build an additional fleet to help with the piracy situation, so let's just build up the fleet to the maximum. As you can see, it'll take 4 turns for that to happen. Meanwhile, we can even start gaining some new armies. We're going to create 2 new armies up here in the north since we have hit that next level of Imperium level. We're going to focus on getting 6 of our Cherusci Axemen or Assault Infantry, a couple of these Harry Night Strikers, and a couple of these Veteran Skirmishers. And we're going to do the same with the other army over here. We're going to create a new army. We're going to rename them in the end turn, of course, before so that you guys don't basically have to see me do it. But I use ChatGPT in order to get more accurate Proto-Germanic names for these armies, as you can see over here. But I would like to rename all of them following a very similar fashion of the Roman fashion. And over here we want to get 4 Hari Night Walkers, I believe these are called, or Night Strikers, 2 of which will be sent to each of the army. We are not going to focus on getting any of the Germanic Swaby archers because they are really inferior in comparison to, of course, the Balearic slingers. So we're going to replace a lot of our army with Balearic slingers. That being said, we can end the turn, and I will see you all in the future when our armies have replenished, our governor generals have come back, or maybe we can even go ahead and showcase the next turn, because I will be pushing forward and trying to attack Gadir as quickly as possible. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Let's go ahead, turn off all of our notifications. Region available for acquisition, that would be Numantia. Let's quickly upgrade our characters, focusing on the research rate, of course, because we want to maximize our research rate as much as we can. Over here, we're going to focus on taxation and industrial output. We can see if we can get any further. And that's pretty much it when it comes to upgrading our characters. Over here, we're simply going to convert all of the buildings. Go ahead, build that over there. We want to build a temple, to be honest, because we have to culturally help with the public order in this province. And go ahead, build a slave market over there. Take a look at some of our other buildings in our other provinces. Of course, Carthago, we can go ahead, disband that. Build a sewage ditch and a temple over there. Alright, that's pretty much it when it comes to our buildings. What we are going to do is deploy our dignitary over there so that he can help with the cultural conversion of Carthage. And over here, we're going to start moving our general all the way towards Eol, because we eventually want to conquer this settlement. Quick look to see if we can get any Balearic slingers. Unfortunately, we can't. We can perhaps get the AOR versions of them, and we can actually. So we are actually going to go ahead and do that. We have a couple of Balearic slingers over here. Here we have these Swaby archers. So I'm just going to retain them a little bit for now because we want to go ahead and attack Gadir. So we're going to go just quickly attack the settlement before any other faction can get it. It's a decent auto-resolve. Let's just auto-resolve this one. We are going to loot the settlement. We're not going to take any chances, of course. The Romans are now down left to just Dimidi and Eol, which is great. This diplomat over here is going to acquire the province of Numantia, and he is deployed. So that means in the next turn, we'll be spending 10,000 denarii to acquire that province. We are going to get rid of these Swaby archers, and over here we can get access to a couple more Balearic slingers, and let's just go ahead and upgrade them, deploy him into the port, and we're going to turn off the taxation over here. This is going to be another research rate or research based province, so let's just go ahead, dismantle all of these buildings. And we're looking quite good with that. We are going to go ahead and deploy this guy into Numantia, of course. Meanwhile, this character over here can kind of station himself in Ibosum, I guess. And over here... Okay, so we have a lot of Balearic Slingers already. We just need another single Balearic Slinger. We can go ahead and recruit the AOR ones, but I'm just going to wait for some of my other armies in order to do that. In fact, I can start moving this army down south over here into Tarraco, and we can also bring our dignitary into Tarraco to help with the cultural conversion, of course. We have 43 Germanic influence, 2.7 gain per turn, but it's going to take a long time for us to replace Iberian with Germanic as the dominant culture. All the way up north over here we have Harjas, 5 Kimbrijos. We are going to check if we can still recruit some of those mercenary cavalries. Unfortunately we cannot. And yeah, with that we're pretty much done with this turn and nothing much else left to do. The Romans are almost taken care of. We don't have really a lot left as far as taking out the Romans are concerned. Hopefully this army, they cannot reach Eol, which is in our favor, but we can in the next turn, so we will definitely be sniping that settlement from the Romans, of course. Yeah, with that we can go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn when we are ready to conquer the settlement of Eol from the Romans. And basically the last thing we have to do, I kind of remember now, is to reinstate all of our admiral governors. So let's just go ahead and do that. The Frigios of Hispanos, we're going to put him into the port of Mastia. Over here we have another character. We're going to reinstate the legacy of Turinas of Ibosum, put him into Ibosum itself. Same over here, reinstate for Saguntos. And alright, we can't really deploy him in there, and that's because this army is in the port. We're just going to move him out of the port. Go ahead, deploy him over there. Perfect. So I'm pretty happy with that. Lastly, since we are going to be taking over Numantia, we can go ahead and disband this guy in anticipation for that, of course. And yeah, in the next turn we will be able to deploy him in Numantia. That being said, we can cancel one of our edicts. In the next turn we'll do that, and we can apply it over here. We want the commercial stimulation edict, of course. So with that, we're almost done with the turn. We just need to promote some of our characters. Let's go ahead and praise this character to improve her zeal to the final level of zeal. We have another character somewhere over here that we can send on leisure to improve her cunning. And pretty much that sorts out everything. What else we need to do is see if we can actually educate any other character. Since we can't, we're actually going to send a gift to our political rivals. Just keep them fairly loyal, as loyal as we possibly can. And we can now go ahead and end the turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We have successfully purchased Numantia, which means it is time to move our dignitary down south towards Iberia. We're going to try to acquire the province over here diplomatically as well. It's only a 3% chance, but that should improve the more and more we culturally convert the province. Let's go ahead, repair some of these buildings. This one we can't really repair unless we research, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Focus on that research rate, resources, and we are going to go for the wine trade hub that gives +4 public order per turn in all provinces, so throughout our empire, which is very, very good. And we're just going to wait a couple of turns to replenish over here before we go ahead and push towards, of course, Carthago. We're going to try to conquer the settlement, get a little bit more aggressive with them so that we can basically get a higher chance to acquire Iberia from, of course, the Lusitani. Over here, quick look to see if we can recruit any of our mercenaries that we need. We have an army up here in the north. We're going to move him towards Tarraco. Quickly see if we can get any more Iberian slingers. Unfortunately we can't. Over here we're gonna see, still can't, so okay, we just have to stay put. That being said, let's take a quick look to see if we can upgrade any of our characters. Important thing down here in the south is that we go ahead and attack Eol. She's pretty decent. Auto resolve is not that great, but I don't really care because this army is pretty much done what it needs to do. And there we have it. It's even upgraded in terms of army tradition. So we are going to go for the Dread Marauders, definitely, the Indomitable Infantry, and of course the Wolves of Tivas. We can in fact get the Chieftains Chosen, so let's actually go ahead and do that. And we are going to deploy into the port so that we can replenish a little bit in this end turn. Turn off the taxation, of course. We no need for the taxation over here. Dismantle all of the buildings we do not need. Going to take a look at some of our other provinces, see what buildings we can build. Starting with Africa, things are looking great. As far as Magna Germania is concerned, we want the one with the maximum growth rate, of course. We're going to do the same in Latium. Latium is slowly but surely losing a lot of its public order, but we're going to fix that very shortly. Right now, we're going to focus on all of the buildings that we can possibly do. We can't really upgrade that building. Go ahead, build the sewage ditch over there. And we are going to build the mine shaft over here. Dismantle some of the buildings over here that we do not need. And we are going to be focusing on the maximum industrial output over here. So that's 200 wealth. That gives me 800 wealth. So I have to actually convert that so that I get 800 wealth from manufacturing industry, which is really, really important. With that, we're going to focus on the Bardic Circle over here for extra research rate. We really have to maximize how fast we can research so that we can unlock more and more technologies, making us all the more formidable. Speaking of making us all the more formidable, some of our armies over here have completely built up. So we're going to go ahead and move him to get some of those units that we've been waiting for. We're going to take a look over here. We still can't get that Reme Maripos cavalry. We need a couple of those. And a new entry into the war in Gallia has happened. We have the Gallici themselves. They are Gallic, Celto-Iberian tribe, so they do have Gallic influences. And they are moving into Aquitania, capturing the capital of Nemesis from the Averni. But the Averni have 2 stacks over here, so I have no doubts that they will be able to acquire the province for themselves in the near future, of course. That being said, a quick look at some of our other provinces. We can see that we have Germanic culture as the dominant culture in most of Italia, and of course even in Narbonensis, but we're trying to do the same in Iberia now, but we have just recently conquered Iberia, so it's going to take a while for us to do so. Of course, what I am going to do is prepare for the next episode, in which of course I will be attacking all of the Gallic tribes. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of all of our agreements with the Gallic tribes, so that we can attack them in the future. Of course, we also have the Remi on our borders, which is a little bit concerning, and they're at war actually with the Iceni, so I could actually attack them even though they are an ally of of the Averni, by asking the Iceni if I can attack them, and that will actually be a much better thing to do. For now, temporarily, let's just get a couple more of our cavalry so that we can attack them with a full stack. And we're going to go ahead and end the turn. And before we do that, actually, we have to get our Governor General over here of Numantia back into Numantia. And there we go, we deploy him into Numantia, and more importantly, we have to also enable the edict of commercial stimulation. So let's just disable the edict over here and enable it with commercial stimulation in Hispania. And Hispania will be making quite a lot of ducats or denarii in the future. As you can see right now, Hispania's 7,400 already, and it's not even built up, guys. So it's going to be absolutely insane. It's going to way surpass Lugia. However, let's just go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn when I'm ready to attack the Remi. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We have completed a research, missing banditry supplies in Hercynia, which we don't care about since we aren't really creating any supplies over there. We are researching enclosed settlement, but I think the priority for now is the oak construction so that we can build up some of those boatyards. Apart from that, we're going to take a quick look to see if we can get any more mercenaries. Unfortunately, no Balearic slingers available over here, and none available in Tarraco, so it's going to be a while. I think we're being very unlucky with our mercenary procs. We're going to move a little bit closer towards, of course, Atuatica, and it's not going to be easy to fight them. They have a full garrison, a decent garrison, of course a decent army, but it's going to be a very interesting battle against them. So let's just see how that goes in the future. Let's take a quick look at all of our characters. None of them can level up. We can engage in some politics as well. We can't really educate anyone, but we can send some of them to improve their cunning. So let's just go ahead and do that. We don't have anything else to do as far as politics is concerned. For the most part, we're looking quite good as far as politics is concerned. Let's move our armies a little bit closer so that of course we can transfer over some of these Hari Knight Strikers into each of the armies and slowly start building up our 2 new additional armies. Speaking of armies, quick look at to see what's happening over here in Gadir. Can we get access to Balearic Slingers? 2 Balearic Slingers over there, so we are going to try our level best to get those Balearic Slingers. And the way we have to do it is we're going to move this guy into over there. That seems perfect. And we can actually go ahead and attack the Turduli. So let's actually go ahead and do that. We declare the war. Go ahead, attack them. Very good auto resolve, but I'm going to improve it a bit further by using my faction air as well. Let's just move him up a little bit closer. There we have it. Very good auto resolve, 86%. I'm happy with that. We can go ahead, sack the settlement, and then we can even loot it. We should be having to fight another battle because of that army that retreated. But this one should be a very easy battle. We'll even wipe out the faction in doing so. Let's just go ahead and now loot the settlement this time. And there we have it. We have taken control of Carthago as well. Dismantle all of the buildings we don't need and repair all the buildings that we can use. Since we have researched that, let's actually focus. Since we have actually completed our research in double wall construction, we can actually build some additional buildings. So we're going to focus on that. Go ahead and build that timber resource building, and this is the one you want to build, the timber trade hub, because it gives +8 wealth from industry in all your regions. A very quick look, we want to build up the black or the copper mine over here, focusing on the copper mine complex, which gives 1600 wealth from industry and an additional 8% wealth of industry throughout the entire province. Apart from that, we want to focus on getting, of course, the clay pit, which improves your industry even further. We can go ahead, upgrade the main settlement building. All right, perfect. Get some more research rate out of that. And we want to build a sewage ditch over here, improve that, get another bardic circle over there. Let's keep improving all of our provinces. Excellent. I'm pretty happy with that. Yep, that's perfect. We can go ahead and end the turn. But before we do that, we don't really need a lot of our spies over here in the region. Pretty much discovered everything over here. We can actually start sending our spies up to the north. I have gone ahead, broken off all our agreements with all the Celts. As you see, I'm absolutely blind in this region now, so I can't really see what's going on. So now is a perfect time to actually start sending our spies back up to the north. We have 3 spies for now, so we are going to send them in various directions. Meanwhile, the Pictones have actually grown quite massive. They've got 3 settlements. Pushed the Iceni out of continental Europe. The Iceni are a little bit on the back foot, especially with the liberation of the Remi, but they're not going to be liberated for far too long, because I do intend to defeat them in the next turn, of course. Perfect. Since this army cannot get access to the Balearic Slingers, we can actually just move him over here, and we can actually get the AOR version of the Balearic Slingers. So that will complete that. And yeah, we're ready to go ahead and the turn. Our fleet is almost built up, but just as it is about to fill up, we have a new bunch of pirates over here. So we're going to have to deal with those pirates and then link up with our fleet in Flavum and deal with the British pirates as well. Let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn when we are ready to attack Atuatuca. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Sun has come of age. Several characters have increased in rank, and I think we can actually acquire the province of Iberia. So that actually is amazing. Let's go ahead and deploy our dignitary over there. We can acquire this province, which is really good. And before we do anything, we are going to focus on our buildings, of course. 16% wealth. No, we want the research rate. Go ahead over there. Perfect. Let's take a look at some of our other provinces, if we can upgrade anything. I think for the most part we have built up all of the buildings that we require, but definitely there are going to be some buildings that we can upgrade, so we're just going to turn off that notification. Excellent. So in terms of economy, we're looking quite good. In terms of food, we're looking amazing. And of course we have an army over here that we wanted to move into Gadir, so that of course we can recruit the extra Baetica slinger mercenary unit. So let's just go ahead and do that. We can upgrade him. Meanwhile, our faction leader as well as our faction heir, we can go ahead and start moving them across. But before we do that, we're going to move our spies so that they do not block any of the passageways and that our characters can move free and unrestricted. We're going to move this other army back up to the north in preparation for our eventual invasion of the Celtic factions, and we can even do the same with the other army. We have quite a lot of armies, and our armies are only going to get stronger with time. Definitely want to keep moving our spies, and now it's time to move our faction heir as well as of course our faction leader slowly up towards the north. We're going to move him, this guy, towards Octodoran, and the faction leader himself we are going to move towards let's say Aburzes. I mean, it's a long march, but it will be worth it in the end when we launch our invasion, eventual invasion of course, and focus on the public order. Let's get some more public order as much as we can. Food is okay. The leader of Harjas 4, Marzijos, has also leveled up, so we can go ahead, give him some abilities. Make sure we fill up all the abilities and then we can level them up even further as we progress along the way. This character has completely leveled up, so we can transfer over the Shield Maiden to another less experienced character. And that's pretty much all we have to do in this turn, I guess. Apart from that, we also have to move these armies to acquire their respective Hari Knight Strikers and move them back down across towards Aburzes. Let's go that way. And go ahead, get a couple more of these guys over here. Perfect. And you can also move towards Aburzes. Eventually, we will be able to get the champions of Tivas from the province of course, Herkinia. We can even get them eventually from the province of Magna Germania. Apart from that, another character has leveled up. Okay, that's great. Let's focus on the food and the research rate, of course. Alright, almost getting Germanic culture as the dominant culture over here. Meanwhile, it's growing at a much faster rate in Iberia itself. Iberia is going to start to make quite a bit of money, as you can see. It's already at 8,500 denarii per turn, and very soon it's going to become a lot more than that. However, what we needed to do in this turn is actually attack the Atuaticans, and it's actually perfect that they move their army outside, because I can actually fight a night battle, win the engagement, and then be in a defensive position against this other army. Now, in order to attack them, what I need to do is, since they are at war with the Iceni, I can actually ask to join the war against them without dragging in the Averni, which I don't want to fight right now because my armies are not in position to attack. So there we have it. We have joined the war against the Remi. We're going to go ahead, attack the settlement, enable the night attack, and I'm just going to auto-resolve this because I really don't want to fight it. We might take some losses, but I'm not too concerned about that. It's Germanic culture, which is amazing, so we can actually peacefully occupy the settlement, and we should have access to quite a lot of Germanic population over there. We're going to turn off the taxation over here, quickly start dismantling and repairing any of the buildings that we need, and there you have it. We have almost wiped out the faction of the Remi as soon as they had actually spawned, and our next target is obviously going to be the Morini. They are in a weakened position. Their Iceni or Britannic allies are nowhere to be seen, so it's really going to be an easy fight to take over Nemetosena. Once we take over Nemetosena, we can pretty much focus on all the Celts in the upcoming episode, and of course unify Gallia under our rule. Hopefully we should be able to take Burdigala as well. I believe I can see excuse me, I believe I can see a siege going on over here, so hopefully the Averni will take that settlement. And then basically I will do a two-pronged attack against the Celtic factions, attacking them from both the west or the east in their perspective, and the south. So we will basically pincer our way across the entirety of Gallia and crush the Celtic factions in the next episode. However, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you liked the video, then like the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you're interested for more. Guys, it's very important for you to like the video, not because I really, want to monetize the channel, as I said earlier. It really lets me know if you want me to continue the series. I mean, I'm getting a lot of positive feedback on the Alexander series. I mean, 400 likes on the first episode, and the second episode has barely been out for 24 hours and it's already 100 likes. So I really know that people are interested in seeing the Alexander series. Meanwhile, the last episode of the Sweboz has only got about 50 likes, so I'm not entirely sure. That's why I question whether I should actually continue the series, at least up until the point of military victory. By conquering, of course, Britannia and Gallia, I can secure that military victory. But for now, let's go ahead and end the episode. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Peace and love.